Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Billy Slater Podcast. Thanks to Ram Trucks, and the great man is on the line with us now. Hello, Bill.
G'day, Levy. How are you?
Mate, very well. Geez, things hotting up in the NRL. Tough round tipping-wise as far as some of the upsets go, which we'll get to in just a second. But look, everyone tunes into the podcast wanting your thoughts on things. State of Origin number 2 at the MCG. Great atmosphere, 90,000 people at the MCG. But, mate, obviously not the result you wanted.
Yeah, I wish I had selective memory loss, but unfortunately it's stuck firmly in the memory, and it was a disappointing night for all us Queenslanders. That first half was, we were beaten by a better side, better performance, and New South Wales were a shade off perfect, and we had 30% possession, they had 70%, and that's something that we need to really look at and work out ways to have an even share of possession.
What do you say to a team at halftime, and when you're a coach and you're down 34-0, especially at an Origin level? What can you say? And one thing I will point out is whatever you said worked, because there was a response in the second half and the Maroons ended up winning the second half.
Yeah, I suppose that was a positive, and you can always find a positive in any situation. And, for the guys to rally at halftime and go out and build a little bit of pressure, earn a little bit of football, and the other thing is earn a bit of discipline as well. That first half an hour, we were 6-0 down on the penalty count, and that's just not acceptable. We need to work out ways to be more disciplined, and they did that in the second half, and they got a little bit of their footy on. So it's hard to get over that first half, but if you're looking for a positive, the second half, the guys rallied and hung in there and then never gave up.
What it does do, Billy, it sets up a mouth-watering clash at Suncorp Stadium in a couple of weeks' time. Bring on the decider. Queensland has a chance to make it 3 in a row. New South Wales has a chance to create its own legacy at Suncorp Stadium, which has become such an intense part of the Origin history.
Yeah, I can imagine the next 16 days is going to be used as a build-up, and it's incredible, isn't it? They're very similar scorelines in game 1 and 2, so both teams will look to rally. Obviously, New South Wales coming off that impressive game in game 2, they'll be nice and confident, and we need to pick ourselves up off the canvas. And in 16 days' time, there is a decider at the home of State of Origin, where it all started at Lang Park, Suncorp Stadium, and there'll be 17 Queenslanders, 17 New South Welshmen going out there to do their best for their state. And the build-up's going to be incredible, and I can imagine the game's going to replicate that.
I say to people I know, Billy, that if you've never been to a State of Origin match at Suncorp Stadium, you've got to put it on the bucket list, because the atmosphere and the electricity around the ground is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. What's it like as a player, given that you wore the number 1 jumper for Queensland, you've played in that arena? The intensity, I heard Paul Gallen say on the weekend, you can't actually hear what your teammates are saying on the field. How difficult is that, and what's it like as a player at Suncorp Stadium?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult when you're actually in a position standing 30 metres behind everyone trying to communicate to them. So you've got to communicate in different ways, but it's a feeling, it's an emotion, and they're the feelings that stick with you forever. The parts of the game come and go that I remember, but the feeling stays with you. The feeling in the sheds before you run out, and then that running out into the cauldron, and the noise and the tingles that you feel throughout your body. That's what both teams are going to feel. And for the Queenslanders, it's going to be a lot of support. And the one thing that we really need to focus on as a staff and a playing group is that we get our footy on and that we start well. We earn our football, and we go and work hard for it, because if we don't, the crowd won't have as much feeling in it as if we do have the footy and we do play our game.
One more, and then we'll move on to the National Rugby League. I'm not going to push you on any changes, because you've made it clear over the years we've been working together. Nothing is certain until you actually sit down and name that team, and there's plenty of footy to be played. But the other thing that you've pointed out to me in the past is that you're very mindful of players and their well-being, and we're all thinking of Xavier Coates at the moment. He's going to miss State of Origin 3 in a bit of time for the Melbourne Storm, so hopefully he's doing okay after picking up a hamstring injury on the weekend, Bill.
Yeah, and you could see he was visually dejected, walking down the tunnel at Amy Park on Saturday night. And And I was sitting at home watching it, feeling for him because I know how hard he's worked. He's had an incredible preseason. He's worked so hard throughout the season. And I was actually at a training session throughout the preseason at Melbourne where he actually did his hamstring. I'm pretty sure it's the same one. I'm not exactly sure, but and he was very emotional, when he did it. He worked so hard. He's such a great person, Xavier, and he's going to miss a fair chunk of the season now. He's obviously going to miss the decider. So in terms of changes, there's going to be at least one forced change there. The guys have got to play another round of football this weekend, and I'd imagine all the Origin players from both sides would be back in their teams this weekend. So looking forward to watching the round of football and then sitting down with Darren Lockyer and Gene Miles on Sunday night and building Queensland's best team to go into this decider.
Two great Queenslanders, Darren Lockyer and Gene Miles there. Fantastic. Let's, before we move away from Origin, congratulate the Queensland Maroons women's team, Billy. Look, it wasn't the greatest game of footy, the decider, a lot of drop ball, a lot of penalties, wet conditions, but the Queensland Maroons create history winning the first 3-game series.
Yeah, and had to do it off the back of losing game 1 as well. And I thought New South Wales, the girls, were incredible in that first game. I just think Queensland adapted to the conditions a lot better in game 2 and 3. It was torrential rain in Newcastle and then the exact same conditions up in Townsville. And they just played the simple game better. To Tani Norris and Ali Brigginshaw, the coach and the captain, they've done a great job leading this side and showed a whole heap of Queensland spirit in their series win, and it's the first series win where it involves 3 games. So I'm sure the girls will be pretty proud. I know the state's very proud of them, and they'll hold the shield for 12 months.
Yeah, congratulations to the Queensland Maroons women's side. Let's move to the NRL, Billy, and I was just having a look here on my phone at the NRL ladder. You've got the Storm 4 points clear on top of the ladder. Panthers, Sharks, 2nd and 3rd on 24. Roosters, 4th on 22 points. The real logjam in the middle of that ladder at the moment, and the race is on for spots in the finals. And, there were some upsets over the course of the weekend, weren't there, mate?
Yeah, just looking at it myself. From 4th to 12th, they're within a 1-game win of each other. Mm-hmm. So 4th is on 20 points and 12th is on 18 points. So it is a tight race. What are we? 10 games before the finals. Mm-hmm. There's only a couple of weeks of Origin period to go, and then everyone will be looking to get their squads nice and healthy and start their run towards the finals. It is one thing, ladder position, and that's an important part of the finals, but you got to be playing your best football at the right time. And with so many injuries to key players at the moment from a lot of clubs, they'll be looking to be nice and healthy and playing their best football at the right time. I just get the feeling that if you finish in that top 8, you're a real chance of going deep into the finals if you're nice and healthy.
Well, speaking of injuries, one of those injured superstars in the game is Tom Trbojevic, who will be back this week for Manly. The coach, Anthony Seibold, has said we're going to start him in the centres. We're going to play him in the centres rather than fullback. But, he's been through a lot, hasn't he, with his body letting him down. I can't imagine what it's like mentally and physically to get yourself back up to go again. But let's hope he finishes the year strongly. Tom Trbojevic for the Manly Sea Eagles, Bill.
Yeah, if you think that you get resilience from going through hard times, Tom Trbojevic, Ryan Pappenhausen, those sort of players, they're going to be some sort of resilient human being by the time they finish their NRL career. And we all know the person that Tom is, and he's a great person, and it's great to see him back on the field. And the Manly Sea Eagles and Anthony Seibold obviously feel that the centre position is a great starting point. I wouldn't be surprised if he's nice and healthy a month before the finals that he slips back into that fullback role. I think he'll get a few reps in the centres, and he might even interchange with Lehigh Hopewadi, at some stage, throughout games in the next month or so. We know he's a top line fullback. He's a top line player, and you just want him involved in the game. And it's just good that he's back in the game. He's had a horrid run with injury, and I know what that feels like, both physically and mentally. So, I wish him all the best. Is
it one of those things, Billy? Do injuries play on your mind when you come back? I mean, you suffered some injuries throughout your career. Is it one of those things where you've got to try and block it out of your mind and just go out there and do it? Given you're playing such an explosive physical game, does it ride on the mind or not?
I think everyone's different. For me, it didn't. For me, I had the attitude that, once I cross that white line, I'm the teams, and my body's the teams, and if it breaks, it breaks. I'm all in. So that was my mindset. Once I come back from injury, I've done the work, and I'm healthy enough to play. I've got to go and commit myself to the team and the game. But it probably depends on what sort of injuries. I didn't have too many hamstring injuries. I had one hamstring injury in my last year, but so that might be a little bit different. But yeah, I suppose everyone's different in that aspect.
Okay, well, let's whip through the games. We started off on Friday night. It was a golden point thriller in the end. The Canterbury Bulldogs beating the Cronulla Sharks 15-14. Matt Burton, third time lucky. He stepped up in golden point extra time to get them home. And this revival of the Bulldogs continues, and that dogs of war mentality is really starting to shine through, Bill.
Hasn't Matt Burton got a boot on him? He hit a couple of nice and sweet from 40, 50 out and didn't get the accuracy right, but he got the distance. And the one that he actually kicked was probably from 35 metres out, 40 metres out, and he just tapped it. He probably hit it 60%, and it just went straight through the upright. It actually hit the upright and went through. But a wonderful performance from the Bulldogs. They're scrapping, they're fighting, they're desperate. The one thing they're getting right is their defence, and they've got the second best defence in the competition. Only the three-time premiers, and we all know that they pride themselves on their defence. Have conceded more points, less points than the Bulldogs. So Cameron Ciraldo is taking a hard edge to the Bulldogs. I feel they're still lacking a little bit of quality, especially in and around key positions to score top line points. But that'll come. That'll come over development. That'll come over recruitment, and they're getting the basics of the game right at the moment, and that's why they're sitting in the top 8. And I'm sure they're focusing on one foot in front of the other and just chipping away. But wouldn't it be something if the Bulldogs can make the finals this year?
Unbelievable, an incredible turnaround. The Broncos decided to rest their Origin players, and the Warriors got them in New Zealand on Saturday, winning the match 32 points to 16.
The Warriors looked like the best team in the competition at stages throughout games, and the way they start games is incredible. They were 3 tries to nil, in the opening 20 minutes, and they did it against Melbourne as well a couple of weeks ago, where they just blew them away early, and then they just fell away. So consistency for the Warriors is really important for them to focus on. I'm sure Andrew Webster is touching on those sort of things, because their best is really good. I thought their 2 halves were good. In Chanel Harris, Tavita and Tamade Martin. They got their defence right, and I thought they were good in the absence of Sean Johnson. The Broncos had an opportunity with 15 minutes to go. They were within striking distance. So they rallied and they fought hard. No Origin players backed up, and they're a team that are just waiting to be healthy, waiting for this period to be over and get all their stars back. Adam Reynolds being one. I think once they get him back, he'll control a lot more and put him in good field positions, and that'll help their defence out. So I wouldn't be writing the Broncos off just yet.
Another sellout crowd at Newcastle, McDonald Jones Stadium, to watch the Knights beat the Eels 34 points to 26. I love the rawness from some players. Did you see the interview with Will Price after the game? Dropped a couple of F-bombs. He apologised. I love a bit of rawness from young blokes, and good on him. He had a great debut, one to remember.
Yeah, just lucky you can't understand what he says. So he's, you know what, he played enthusiastic as well. He played like he interviewed. So he supported. He scored a nice try. It was great to see his father and family in the grandstand. Leon Price was a great Super League player, a great Englishman that played the game for a long period of time, and that would have been that'll be a moment that not just Will, but Leon, the whole family will remember forever, because you only get to play your debut once, and what a moment it was in front of a packed house. It was the entertaining game of the weekend for me. I sat back and I watched it, and I was entertained. And I thought Mitchell Moses was great for the Parramatta Eels. Showed great speed to score a couple of tries, and they looked the winners at certain points, but they showed plenty of heart, the Newcastle Knights, and off the back of 3 losses, they needed to rally. Still without their star fullback and captain Kalen Ponga, They're doing a good job. They're fighting hard and they're keeping in touch.
Just on the way to the next game, Amy Park in Melbourne, which has a seagull problem. There's a seagull problem at the MCG too, I noticed at Origin when I was down there. You wouldn't because you were focused on what was going on. Did you ever have any issues with seagulls in your days playing rugby league at Amy Park as a Melbourne Storm fullback? Did they get in your way?
No, never. You've seen them on the race course a few times where they're all on the track and then they fly off right in front of the horses. So there's a bit of an issue there, but they've been there for a long time. The MCG is not far from Amy Park, so I'm going to say that they're the same seagulls.
They're everywhere.
Sure, but they might be.
I think it was an Alfred Hitchcock movie, wasn't it? The birds. They're coming to swoop it everywhere. Melbourne Storm beat the Raiders 16 points to 6, Amy Park. They got there, the Storm, but it was a hard-fought win.
Yeah, it was. They're doing a good job, the Melbourne Storm. I know that I played for them, and I've got the Melbourne Storm, within my blood. But if you saw the coach's box, there was just as many players in the coach's box as there was on the sideline, waiting to get on the field. And you had Cameron Munster, Harry Grant, Ryan Pappenhausen, Jonah Pezzett. They had some quality players sitting in the coach's box, and one of those key position players was out on the field, and I thought he was super. And I'll probably give him an award a little bit later in this podcast. But Jerome Hughes he's the glue to that team at the moment. Craig Bellamy has done a wonderful job with some of the younger guys coming in. Grant Anderson, Jack Howarth, they're all filling in a position and they're all doing a great job. So the development of the club is in good hands. But I thought Jerome Hughes was the man and controlled things. They had a fair bit of ball, so the Raiders did a great job to hold them out for a long period of time. But the class just prevailed, and it was a tough old game. It was very greasy conditions down in Victoria, and the Melbourne Storm, they just keep climbing that ladder, and now they've got that buffer of 2 wins at the top of the ladder. They're sitting pretty.
Some encouraging signs too for the Dragons, Bill. They had a milestone game with Shane Flanagan notching up his 200th game as an NRL coach, and they played at Cogra and knocked off the Dolphins and Wayne Bennett by 26 points to 6.
Yeah, didn't score a try in the first half, but did a lot of work, and they defended well. That's one thing that the Dragons are doing well at the moment is they're defending. And, the Dolphins are getting a fair bit right. So, they don't sit on the ladder where they are for no reason. So to actually hold them to 1 try is the great achievement. Hold them tryless in the second half. So they're doing a fair bit right, Shane Flanagan and his coaching staff at the Dragons. And, I'm sure there's a bit of a feeling around that club at the moment.
We move to the North Queensland Cowboys and Penrith Panthers. I ran into you out there yesterday, Bill. You're on television duties. I was on radio duties. Halftime little toilet break for the pair of us. The Cowboys beat the Panthers 16 points to 6. I think you were one of them people that gave the Cowboys a chance, and they upset the reigning premiers.
Yeah, I did. Obviously, the outs to Penrith are huge outs, but there were plenty of stars out for the Cowboys. The 2 inclusions that I thought that the Cowboys could really get an advantage was the halfback, Chad Townsend, and his kicking game, and the fullback, Scott Drinkwater. He's just a classy player, and I could see some points in him. It was a wet, cold, windy afternoon in Penrith. I was lucky I was in the commentary box next to yourself there, Mark, so we were nice and toasty up in the box. But the great thing that the Cowboys got right is they went there with a physical mindset. They went there with a great attitude to work really hard and defend their way to victory. We knew what we were going to get from the Panthers. There was probably a few more mistakes in the Panthers game than normally would, given the continuity of positions and players. But the Cowboys just outworked them. They played field position. They didn't always have field position, and when they didn't have it, they defended their try line. They went down to 12 men twice, so they spent 20 minutes of the game, defending with 12 men, and only conceded 1 try. So I'm sure Todd Payten will look back on this game with fond memories. He'll use this game to celebrate some actions and some attitudes within their team, and they go back to Townsville with 2 points, and a valuable 2 points because it puts them inside the 8.
Now we move to the game to wrap up round 17. The Roosters thumping the West Tigers by 40 points to 6. Flano had his 200th. Trent Robinson had his 300th, and they delivered the coach a 40 points to 6 win over the Tigers.
And they'll be 201 and 301 when they play each other. And I think there's already been some barbs fly from Shane Flanagan in the post-match press conference, said this one's been circled and they've already spoken about it. So that's going to be a beauty on Sunday, Arvo. The Roosters are just cruising. They're a footy team. Joey Manu picked up a hand injury, a wrist injury or something that didn't look too good as he left the field. So they'll probably wait eagerly to see how bad that is. But you just look across their footy team and they've just got quality all over it. And, 2 wingers scored 2 tries each. Their key position players are playing well. Sammy Walker's, just really crafty, looking for opportunities, going down short sides. And, yeah, they're a footy team. They're going to take some beating this year.
Yeah, they certainly are. So that's a look at round number 17 of the National Rugby League. There was a bizarre incident in the New South Wales Cup. Big red, Corey Horsburgh, Hot Dog Horsburgh, I think they call him. He got sent off. There were 2 of the Warriors players who got sent off. Look, I'm a fellow redhead. We do get fiery, but Corey, come on, bro. Just settle down. Settle down.
Yeah, look, had a little bit to do with Corey last year. He's a great person. We all know he plays with emotion. He's a very emotional type of guy. He hasn't had a great year. He's been injured. He's been suspended. He hasn't spent much time in first grade. And you couple that with a bit of frustration in a game. And I don't know the scenario or what happened within the game. But, it's not a good look. And hopefully Corey's okay because, like I said, he plays with his heart on his sleeve, and it's been a really tough year for him. That sometimes those frustrations come out in ways that you regret, and I'm sure he's probably sitting there regretting the way that he expressed his frustrations. And
as a fellow redhead, we've been victimised our entire lives. So Corey, I've got your back, bro. This is the Billy Slater Podcast. We do it for Ram Trucks. We'll come back with the questions, the awards, and a look ahead to round 18. We move to the Billy M Awards. After 17 rounds of the competition, each week we'll get Billy's best team and the player of the round. Voting has gone behind closed doors.
Ooh.
Are we keeping a track of the votes, are we? Okay, fair enough. Most impressive team from round 17, Billy.
Do they go behind closed doors after I express them publicly here?
Yes, exactly.
I get okay, all good. What was it? The team of the week?
The team, please, yes.
Team of the week are the Roosters. I just thought they were really impressive. They were ruthless. They didn't give the Tigers too much, and they just applied pressure to them. So Roosters for me, the team of the week.
What about your player of the round?
Yeah, down in Melbourne, little Jerome Hughes. Like I said, all his sidekicks were sitting up in the coach's box next to Craig Bellamy, and he was out there doing it all on his own. Obviously, the guys that have been coming in have doing a great job. Josh King's been fantastic, but Jerome Hughes, he's steering the ship, and he's the player of the week.
All right, we move to a couple of listener questions. We've touched on Mick's question, I suppose, briefly relating to Origin. He says, "Hi, Billy. I thought Queensland did a really good job in the second half to stop the New South Wales onslaught and win the half 18 points to 4. Is that a positive you'll be looking at going into game number 3? That one from Mick.
We won't be glossing over, what happened in the first half. It's really important not to sweep that under the carpet. It's not just purely forget that. So we need to work out, what we need to do better in that aspect. But then at the same time, have a look at that second half and go, well, what did we get right there? So, I suppose it's a positive.
We move to James. Hey, Billy, after Will Price's debut over the weekend, it got me thinking, who is the best English player that you've played with or against, and do you think we'll see more Super League players come over to the National Rugby League?
Oh, that's a really good question, and one that I haven't really thought about. It makes me a little bit sad saying this, that one of the toughest players and one of the best players that I've ever played against in England is the late Rob Burrow. Passed away only recently with motor neurone disease, the same disease that Carl Webb had. But I was fortunate enough to play in 3 World Club challenges against Leeds, and 3 times against Rob Burrow. He was dead set 5 foot tall, but as tough as they came. Reminded me a little bit of Matt Orford, where he was just short but very courageous, the way he ran the footy, the way he defended. And then that showed in his fight against the terrible disease that he had a battle with. And, I suppose I take this opportunity to send my love and support and thoughts, condolences to the Burrow family and all his friends and family over in the UK. I know Kevin Sinfield is a huge support and friend. Probably class himself as family towards him, and they're going through a tough time at the moment. So, yeah, not just one of the best players that I've played against, one of the courageous men that I've witnessed on a rugby league field, and then beyond that.
Yeah, beautiful tribute, Billy. Beautiful stuff, mate. And, of course, to those people listening, if you'd like to ask Billy a question, you can send them through BillySlaterPodcast@9.com.au. BillySlaterPodcast@9.com.au. Let's look ahead to round 18. Eels, Rabbitohs, Broncos, Panthers, Bulldogs, Warriors, Roosters, Dragons. They're all still to come, round number 18.
Yeah, the two that really stick in mind, Roosters, Dragons, like I said, the fuse has already been lit there for that one. And the Friday night game on Channel 9, that's going to be a beauty. All the Origin stars back. Panthers, Broncos up at Suncorp Stadium. We all know what happened in October last year. And with all those stars back, that's going to be one to tune in for.
Certainly will be. By the way, just out at Penrith yesterday, did you get some of the boxes of the shapes for the kids at home?
I did. Well, okay.
Mate,
did you just get them too?
There were nacho cheese shapes. There were barbecue shapes. There were Xbox controller shapes. Daryl Bryman had about 8 packets of them.
Chicken,
You had
chicken
three,
crimpies.
Three?
Chicken crimpies for me.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well,
Are we sponsored by Shapes now?
Well,
Not yet.
this
Next
is the
week.
reason why I'm bringing it up. I'm calling on a lifetime supply of shapes for the Slater family.
Okay.
Mate, it's only a
There
raw
we
if you're not
go.
in it. I'm just trying to help you.
Just helping the podcast out.
Just
Channel
what am I
9.
doing helping a Queenslander? I want them. I'm a heap. Anyway, Billy, enjoy the weekend of footy. We'll see you on the telly, and we look forward to State of Origin 3, the decider in Brisbane. Thanks so much.
Out. See ya.
Out. See ya. And bring on some shapes. Thanks very much for your company. This has been the Billy Slater Podcast. We do it thanks to Ram Trucks. Go Queensland, go New South Wales, and good luck to your NRL teams this weekend.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights. Action. 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour. Grab a seat on the couch for that. And, of course, my favourite, Freddie in the Own.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm. Subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.